Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're diving into something a little different. We're taking on the Spiritual Seek's Environmentalism test.
Oh, interesting.
You know, the one that kind of tells you, are you an eco-warrior? Or
Yeah.
do you need to, step up your game a bit?
Right.
I got to admit, taking this test myself, some of these statements
Yeah.
really got me thinking, so.
I bet. It's always fascinating to see how these tests, they can kind of spark that introspection.
Mhm.
And the spiritual seek really has that knack for framing,
Yeah.
these complex issues in
Yeah.
a way that really makes you pause
Right.
and think about your own beliefs and actions.
Exactly. So let's jump right in. First statement. Society should promote a less consumerist lifestyle.
Okay.
I mean, on the surface, sounds great, right?
Mhm.
But isn't consumption like the backbone of our economy?
Well, yeah, and I think that's really the heart of the debate here, isn't it? The spiritual seek's argument is that our current levels of consumption,
Mm-hmm.
they're just not sustainable in the long run. They point to things like the depletion of natural resources,
Right.
the mountains of waste that we generate,
Yeah.
and just the impact on ecosystems as evidence that something needs to change.
So it's not just about like individual choices then.
Right.
It's like a whole systemic
Exactly.
shift
Yeah. It's
in how we value
Yeah.
and prioritize consumption. But like,
Mhm.
how do they suggest we even make that happen?
Right.
It just seems like such a huge
It is a huge undertaking.
undertaking, yeah.
But they emphasize the importance of promoting alternative economic models, like a circular economy that focuses on reducing waste,
Right.
reusing resources,
Makes sense.
and even shifting our values away from just, material possessions
Yeah.
and more towards experiences, relationships, personal well-being.
It really makes you think, like, what if we measured success by,
Right.
our happiness and impact on the world,
Exactly.
rather than just like how much stuff we own?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but enough of the philosophical pondering for now.
All right.
Let's go to statement number 2.
Okay.
This one's all about plastic.
All right.
Reducing plastic waste is crucial to preserving marine life and ocean health.
Mm-hmm.
This one really hits close to home for me, especially after seeing those documentaries
Oh, I know.
about plastic pollution in the ocean.
Yeah, those images are hard to forget.
They are. So.
Yeah, and the spiritual seek really drives this point home, by highlighting the fact that plastic doesn't biodegrade.
Right.
It just breaks down into smaller and smaller pieces.
Yeah.
And ultimately ends up, in the food chain and impacting human health.
Wait, so the plastic we're throwing away
Mm-hmm.
could actually end up back on our plates.
It's possible, and that's a pretty disturbing thought.
It is. So what can we do about it?
Right.
I mean, is it as simple as just recycling more?
Well, recycling is part of the solution,
Okay.
but the spiritual seek argues that we need to go further
Yeah.
and actually reduce our reliance on single-use plastics altogether.
Okay.
They encourage us to make conscious choices, like bringing our own reusable bags,
Right.
bottles, containers, that kind of thing.
So it's about being more mindful about
Exactly.
our consumption.
Yeah, and thinking about the long-term consequences of our choices.
I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Ready for statement number 3.
Sure.
This one's about water. Conserving water resources helps safeguard against future shortages and droughts.
Okay.
I remember reading about those severe droughts in California
Yeah.
a few years back, and it really brought home the importance of water conservation.
Yeah, it's a good reminder that water isn't an infinite resource.
Right.
Especially fresh water.
Mhm.
And spiritual seek, they point out that as the global population grows
Yeah.
and climate change intensifies, water scarcity is becoming a more and more pressing issue.
So it's not just about saving water for, future generations. It's about ensuring we even have access
Exactly.
to this vital resource ourselves.
Yeah.
So what are some specific things they recommend? Is it all about like shorter showers?
Sure, those are great starting points. Turning off the tap while you're brushing your teeth.
Right.
But the spiritual seek also goes beyond just those individual actions.
Okay.
They advocate for investing in water-efficient infrastructure,
Makes sense.
promoting sustainable agricultural practices that minimize water usage,
Right.
and protecting watersheds from pollution and degradation.
So water conservation isn't just a personal responsibility. It's like it's a collective action.
Exactly. It requires
That's the thing.
collective action and systemic change.
Yeah. Okay. Let's dive into statement number 4. This one's all about forests.
Okay.
Forest conservation is key to combating climate change and protecting wildlife habitats.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, I've always felt such a sense of peace when I'm surrounded by trees.
Oh, absolutely. There's something magical about forests.
Yeah.
And the spiritual Sikh reminds us that forests are not just beautiful landscapes.
Right.
They play a vital role in regulating our planet's climate and supporting biodiversity.
Right.
You know, they act as massive carbon sinks, absorbing CO2 from the atmosphere, which helps to mitigate climate change.
So by protecting forests, we're not just, saving trees. We're actually helping to stabilize the global climate and safeguard countless species.
Right.
But how do they suggest we actually go about protecting these ecosystems?
Well, preventing deforestation is the crucial part of it.
Okay.
But they also emphasize the importance of restoring degraded forests.
Okay.
And promoting sustainable forestry practices that balance ecological and economic needs.
So it's like a holistic approach.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. Ready to explore statement number 5.
Sure.
This one's all about renewable energy.
Yeah.
Transitioning to renewable energy sources can significantly reduce our carbon footprint.
Mm-hmm.
This one seems pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
But I know there are a lot of challenges involved in making this transition.
Yeah, the spiritual Sikh acknowledges that shifting away from fossil fuels is a massive undertaking.
Right.
But they argue that it's essential for mitigating climate change and creating a more sustainable energy future.
So it's not just about individual actions, like installing solar panels
Bigger than that.
on our roof or whatever. It's bigger.
It requires large-scale investment in renewable energy infrastructure and supportive government policies.
So what kind of specific changes do they advocate for?
Well, they emphasize the need for a just transition.
Okay.
That takes into account the economic and social impacts on communities that rely on fossil fuel industries.
Yeah, makes sense.
They also advocate for investing in research and development to advance renewable energy technologies and make them more accessible and affordable.
No, it's not just a technological challenge.
Yeah, it's much more than that. It
requires careful planning,
a
commitment to equity and fairness.
Okay, on to the final statement. This one focuses on regulations. Advocating for stricter environmental regulations can lead to cleaner air and water for all. This one always seems to spark debate.
It does. It often gets caught up in political ideologies.
Yeah.
But the spiritual Sikh's argument is that environmental regulations are essential for protecting public health and the environment. And they point to, the history of environmental disasters
caused by unchecked pollution as evidence that we need safeguards in place.
So it's about holding corporations accountable for their environmental impact and making sure everyone has access to clean air and water.
Exactly.
But aren't there concerns that stricter regulations could stifle economic growth?
Yeah.
Or lead to job losses?
Those are valid concerns. And the spiritual Sikh acknowledges the need to find that balance between environmental protection and economic development. They advocate for regulations that are, science-based, transparent, fairly enforced, while also promoting innovation and green technologies that can create new jobs and economic opportunities.
So like a more nuanced approach
Exactly.
that recognizes the complexity of these issues.
And tries to find solutions that benefit both people and the planet.
Exactly. There you have it. The spiritual Sikh's 6 statements.
6 statements.
Designed to make us think critically about our environmental impact. It's been quite a journey so far.
It has.
And I'm already seeing the world through a slightly different lens.
I bet.
But before we get too deep into those philosophical reflections, let's take a break and come back for part 2.
Sounds good.
Where we'll explore some practical tips and actions we can all take to align our lives with these values.
Right.
We'll see you soon.
See you then.
You're Ben.
Welcome back, everyone. So we spent the first part of our deep dive kind of unpacking those thought-provoking statements from the spiritual Sikh.
Right. And now it's like, okay, how do we actually put this into practice?
Right, Jack.
It's one thing to think about these concepts, but it's another to actually live them out. And honestly, sometimes it feels like, individual actions are just a drop in the bucket when we're talking about these global issues.
I think the spiritual Sikh would agree that systemic change is absolutely crucial.
Right.
But they also really emphasize the power of individual choices.
Okay.
Recognizing that every action we take, every purchase we make, it sends a signal to the market.
Right.
And influences those larger systems.
So it's about like voting with our wallets.
Exactly.
And our lifestyles.
Yeah, our everyday choices.
So remember that first statement about consumerism? What are some like practical tips for actually...
They suggest we start by becoming more conscious consumers.
Okay.
Before you buy something, ask yourself, do I really need this?
Right.
Or is it just going to end up cluttering my life?
Yeah.
Contributing to the waste stream.
It's so easy to get caught up in that cycle of like wanting the newest thing, the latest gadget.
The next best thing.
But honestly, how much of that stuff
Right.
really brings us lasting happiness?
That's the question.
You know.
And the spiritual Sikh, they encourage us to find joy in experiences, relationships, personal growth, rather than just material possessions. And when we do buy things, choose quality over quantity.
Okay.
Opt for durable,
Right.
ethically made products.
Makes sense.
That will last.
And maybe even like explore alternatives to buying new altogether. Like I've gotten really into thrifting lately.
Oh, that's great.
And it's amazing the treasures you can find.
Yeah. And it's a great way to give items a second life.
Exactly. Exactly.
Speaking of reducing waste, let's revisit that statement about plastic pollution.
Right.
The spiritual Sikh's advice here is pretty straightforward.
Okay.
Ditch the single-use plastics.
Okay, that sounds simple enough. But what about those times when it feels like unavoidable? Like I'm at a restaurant.
Yeah.
They automatically bring a plastic straw. What am I supposed to do then?
You'd be surprised.
Okay.
How powerful a polite request can be.
All right.
Just say, no straw, please.
Okay.
And when you're grocery shopping, bring your own reusable bags. Try to choose products with minimal plastic packaging.
So it's about being prepared.
Exactly.
And making those conscious choices.
Yeah, even when it's a little inconvenient.
Okay, all right. What about water conservation? The spiritual Sikh highlighted, the growing problem of water scarcity.
Right.
So what are some tips?
They recommend being mindful of our water usage in all aspects of our lives.
All right.
Take shorter showers. Fix leaks promptly. Choose water-efficient appliances when it's time to replace old ones.
You know what? I've been meaning to install a low-flow shower head. I've heard they can save a significant amount of water.
They can.
Without sacrificing water pressure.
Yeah, you don't even notice the difference.
Good, good. And if you have a lawn, consider watering it less frequently.
Yeah.
Or using a rain barrel.
Yeah, rain barrels are great.
To collect rainwater for irrigation.
Yeah, those small changes can make a difference.
Now, what about protecting forests? The spiritual Sikh talked about, their role in combating climate change, supporting biodiversity.
Absolutely.
So beyond just like donating to conservation organizations, are there things we can do in our daily lives?
Yeah.
To make a difference?
Sustainably sourced wood products. Support businesses that are committed to responsible forestry practices. And reduce your consumption of paper and other forest-derived products.
So it's about being aware. Where our products come from.
Where our products come from.
I recently switched to bamboo toilet paper.
Oh, nice.
It's surprisingly soft.
I hear that's a good one.
And it's much more sustainable than traditional wood pulp paper.
It's those small, everyday choices that, when multiplied across millions of people, can have a real impact.
Okay, let's move on to the renewable energy statement.
All right.
We talked about how it requires systemic change, but the spiritual Sikh also believes that individuals can play a role.
Can help accelerate this transition.
So beyond just installing solar panels, what are some ways?
Well, if you're renting, or you can install solar panels, you can often choose a green energy provider for your electricity. Many utility companies now offer plans that source electricity from renewable sources.
So it's about being informed consumers.
Exactly.
And making choices that align with our values. All right, last but not least, we got the statements about advocating for stricter environmental regulations.
Right.
This one feels a bit daunting, but how can we, as individuals, make a difference in the political arena?
Well, the spiritual Sikh really stresses the importance of civic engagement. Write to your elected officials. Express your support for strong environmental policies.
Right.
Vote for candidates who prioritize environmental protection. You know, make your voice heard.
Yeah. It's
let your elected officials know that you care about these issues.
Letting them know we care and not underestimating the power of collective action.
Absolutely. Join local environmental groups. Participate in protests, demonstrations.
Right.
Use social media to spread awareness. Rally support for environmental causes.
It's a reminder that we're not alone.
You're not alone.
In this.
There are so many people working tirelessly to protect our planet.
Right. And by joining forces, we can amplify our impact.
Exactly. We can create a powerful movement for change by working together and holding our leaders accountable.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive.
We have.
From unpacking those thought-provoking statements from the spiritual Sikh to brainstorming, ways we can live more sustainably.
It's been a fascinating exploration.
It really has. And what strikes me is that the spiritual Sikh, they don't shy away from those hard truths, No,
they don't.
They acknowledge the challenges, but they also offer a sense of hope and agency.
I think that's what makes their work so compelling.
Yeah.
They don't sugarcoat the problems, but they remind us that we have the power to create a better future.
It's easy to feel overwhelmed.
It is.
By the scale of these global issues. But the spiritual Sikh, they emphasize that every action we take, no matter how small, it ripples outward and contributes to a larger shift.
That's right. They remind us that we're all interconnected.
Right.
And our choices have consequences that extend far beyond ourselves.
And those seemingly insignificant actions, when multiplied across millions of people, can have a huge...
A collective impact.
A collective impact.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with a challenge inspired by the spiritual Sikh. What is one small change you can make in your life today that aligns with the values we've been talking about?
It could be as simple as choosing a reusable water bottle over a plastic one, opting for a meatless meal, writing to your elected official about an environmental issue that matters to you.
The key is to just start somewhere.
Exactly.
Take that first step.
Doesn't matter how small it seems.
No matter how small.
Just take that first step.
And remember, it's not about being perfect.
No.
It's about progress, not perfection.
That's right.
It's about making those conscious choices, taking action.
One step at a time.
One step at a time, and recognizing that we're all in this together.
We are.
So thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into environmentalism.
Absolutely.
Until next time, keep questioning, keep diving deep, and keep making a difference.
Couldn't have said it better myself.